York Minster is one of the largest Gothic cathedrals in Northern Europe. No wonder it attracts thousands of visitors every year. For centuries, people have been making pilgrimages to Britain's great cathedrals. Richard Taylor, our church detective, is heading to Canterbury to discover more about its links with Chaucer and those famous pilgrims of his in the Canterbury Tales.
In the Canterbury Tales, written in the 1380s, 30 pilgrims meet at an inn in London, en route to visit the shrine of St Thomas a Becket in Canterbury. They're a mixed bunch. A noble knight, a worldly prioress, a disgusting miller, and of course the irrepressible wife of Bath. They decide to travel together. And they also decide that on the way to pass the time, they will tell each other stories. The Canterbury Tales. Canterbury is a couple of days' ride from London, and you can well imagine the pilgrims trotting along one of the old pilgrim ways like this one, singing their songs and telling their tales, until they'd round the corner, and there it was. Canterbury Cathedral is an amazing sight now, but back then it must have looked like a spaceship had landed, like God's own palace had fallen from heaven to earth. But nothing would have prepared them for what they were about to experience. Entering the cathedral was a sensory explosion. The heavy scent of the incense, the chanting of the monks, the brightly painted walls and the columns that seemed to stretch up to heaven.
They came because if they visited these holy sites, they thought it would get them quicker to heaven. But they also came because at most of these sites, they were learning that miracles were taking place. And of course, if you had something wrong with you, you would want to go to on one of these pilgrimages to one of these holy sites in the hopes that whatever was wrong with you would in fact be cured.
And were people coming for fun?
I know you like to think that they probably came on organised package tours. To a certain extent, yes, because Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, you've got this jolly band of pilgrims coming down to Canterbury, and there was a prize for the one that told the best tale.
Did Chaucer himself come to Canterbury?
I don't know of any written document that says Chaucer actually came, but I think as master of the King's works, he would have been down because so much of Canterbury Cathedral was rebuilt towards the end of the 1300s, and Chaucer would have been here to oversee it, of course.
If Chaucer did visit Canterbury, then he would have walked up these steps, worn away by countless pilgrims through the centuries. And when they reached the top, they'd see the miracle windows shining like jewels above them. The windows are an amazing record, showing real pilgrims, the tomb itself, and some of the miracles that are said to have taken place here. They're like postcards from the past, showing you how this place really looked. Until, finally, they came to Thomas's tomb. Becket's tomb was destroyed on the orders of Henry VIII in 1538, and now a single candle marks the spot where it stood. But nothing could destroy the sense of wonder that it left with the pilgrims who came here, or the traces that they left behind them, or the feeling that it still leaves visitors with today.
Choral singing is an important tradition in this country, and we like to celebrate and encourage it in our School Choir of the Year competition. It features some of the country's finest young voices. This year the final will be held at Sheffield City Hall, and if you'd like to be part of the audience, there are still some tickets available. Anna Jones will be hosting, and the all-important dates are Saturday the 27th and Sunday the 28th of February. To apply for your free tickets, contact the Songs of Praise office by going to the website bbc.co.uk/Songs of Praise. Here's a taster from last year's competition.
Oh, come, let us sing, sing unto the Lord. Let's make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Come before his presence with thanksgiving in our hearts. We'll make a joyful noise unto him as we sing. Hallelujah, as we sing. Hallelujah, the Lord is great, greatly to be praised. Praise, praise, praise. For the Lord is great, greatly to be praised. Praise, praise, praise. Oh, come, let us worship, bow down and worship, bow before the Lord, for he is the Lord our Maker. He is our God, and we are his people. We'll make a joyful noise unto him as we sing. Hallelujah, as we sing. Hallelujah, we sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We sing, holy, we sing, worthy are you, Lord. Power, power, and strength belong to you forever and ever. Power, power, and strength belong to you forever and ever. 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 Forever and ever.
For many people, lighting a candle and saying a prayer can bring great comfort during times of grief and sorrow. 7 months ago, 38 people, including 30 British citizens, were murdered in a terror attack by a lone gunman in Tunisia. David Grant has been to hear one story from a survivor.
Last June, Colin Bidwell and his wife joined thousands of British holidaymakers who jetted off for some sun, sea and relaxation.
It was one of the best hotels I've ever stayed in Tunisia. The food was great, the staff were fantastic, and the weather was good. It was just perfectly what we wanted.
Little did Colin know that this tranquility was about to be broken in the most devastating way.
15 Britons are now known to have died in the attack on a tourist resort in Tunisia, and the Foreign Office says that number may well rise.
The sound, I just naturally thought possibly a firework. It just went off. And then the second shot I realised it was obviously some sort of gunfire. I turned and looked to my wife. She was already off her sunbed, running up at the beach and telling me to run. As I leant over, the first round that I felt very close to me actually went underneath my arm. And I ran to the end of the sunbeds. I was still under fire. The gunman was obviously working his way through the sunbeds. And then that's when I had the moment that I realised that I was probably going to die. And I ran and swam out to the sea.
It was an attack that would lead to Colin being shot twice. Thankfully, both Colin and his wife survived the ordeal. Colin soon returned to the UK, but found that before going home or seeing family, something drew him here, to his local church, a place he had rarely visited until now.
We drove outside the church and just creeped into the main entrance, and the congregation were talking about myself and my wife.
Really?
Yeah. It was just an incredible moment. I couldn't believe it. They were mentioning about what had happened in Tunisia on the Friday, and that they were aware that possibly there was someone from the village that was involved. So me and my wife just looked at each other and decided, you know, that's, I don't know, maybe some significance, I don't know.
How have you resisted the temptation to hatred?
I must admit, in the beginning, I did find it a little bit difficult the first few days. I had quite a few questions and took myself to the local mosque.
When he came to see me, he was horrified, very scared. He asked me about Islam and about Muslims.
Well, I've understood, because it's been so fully explained. Some of the things I didn't really know about culture and belief and the way I feel about things. It's been a great experience for me.
For now, Colin is just starting his journey and beginning to explore his faith. But the events of that day in June have had a life-changing impact on him.
So there's something in the power of prayer. I believe there is a supreme being, and at this moment in time, I'm just seeing where this journey takes me. But we certainly find comfort in coming to the church. Yes, we do.